All right, one more guest, and I'm very apologetic to this guest because we had to move him around because AJ Agazarm was a little chatty-catty earlier on, but he is kind enough, and I do believe he just got back home, so maybe it gave him an extra minute or two to take a shower, to rest up and whatnot. He was victorious this past weekend. We started with Santiago Ponzinibbio, who won in the main event. Well, also on that card, Ian Heinisch won in his UFC debut. He defeated Cezar Muchanch, and a lot of people were glowing about this man, talking about this man earlier in the week when a story came out in Players Tribune, which was from his perspective, as Players Tribune is known to do, talking about what he has overcome, talking about where he's been, talking about the ups and downs, getting to the UFC, but long before he ever even considered a career in mixed martial arts. He has an unbelievable life story, and I think it's great to end the show with him here this afternoon. So let us say hello to Ian, who is joining us now via the magic of Skype. Ian, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing great, and I apologize for getting to you a little late. Thank you very much for your patience. I just wanted to know, am I pronouncing your name correctly? Heinisch?
Yes.
All
Yeah,
right.
that's correct.
All right.
Yeah, you did a good job.
I appreciate that. Well, thank you to Jim Walter, your manager, for teaching me. I just wanted to make sure that he wasn't messing me up on that one. So congratulations, Ian. You have been through so much, and I'm going to talk to you about, and I want to ask you about your road, but you're back home now, and you just won your UFC debut. Considering everything that you've been through, what does this mean to you?
This is so huge. It's very surreal to just get my UFC debut out the way. Ariel, I'm getting an echo.
Oh, you're getting an echo. This is happening from
Yeah.
time to time. Maybe it's happening on the back end. So you hear yourself talking, right?
Yeah, it's hard
Oh,
to.
yeah, that's incredibly frustrating. Okay, let's reconnect with you. If it happens again, we'll call you on your phone, okay?
Okay.
All right, we're going to do that. I mean, the connection is crystal clear. So let's reconnect with Ian, and if that doesn't work because the connection is clear, then we'll call him on his phone. All right, guys? So just hang up and call him back. All right, we're going to go to the phone. There he is, Jake, making the executive decision. Ian joining us after the win on Saturday against Cezar Muchanch, an impressive victory over a UFC veteran. A brutal fight. It was an impressive fight. It was a dominant performance. And like I said, if you have not read that article about his life story, courtesy of the Players Tribune, I highly recommend doing so after this interview because what he has had to overcome is nothing short of amazing. Ian, are you there?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, let's just ride with this. This is much better, right?
Yeah, I mean, I could barely hear myself think with the echo going.
Oh, it's the
So
worst.
this is better.
I've been there before. It's the worst. Thank you for being patient here. So you were saying, I asked you about, considering everything that you've been through, how much this meant to you, and you said it's somewhat surreal, right?
Yeah, my whole life I've been dreaming about being in the UFC, and especially when I was locked up in prison. I'm like, one day I'm going to be the champ, and so even in the back, it was a lot more nerves than usual. And I mean, I always have seen it so many times in my head, and then for it to actually be going down and to fight a top 20 guy, I have those thoughts in my head, like, am I ready for this? I mean, I was super confident once I got in there and got the feel of it. I'm like, this is just a normal fight. But yeah, it's amazing, and I'm so happy to be where I'm at, just considering what I was doing 4 years ago.
4 years ago, you were in prison, right?
Yeah, I was just getting out.
If I would have told that guy that in less than 5 years he'd be a UFC fighter, he'd have a win under his belt, would you have believed me?
Yes, definitely.
Really? How come?
I had a belief in myself, and I just knew I was going to do everything in my power to achieve my goals and my dreams. And I just feel that it's my God-given destiny that, God put me through this huge trials and tribulations to build a testimony and to use it to inspire people. And now just winning the UFC belt is all part of the plan.
Wow. Your childhood, was it your typical childhood, or were there some troubling signs back then?
I had a great childhood. My parents were doing well, and they were together. And but I was just a wild child, man. I just was always getting in trouble. I got expelled my senior year, started selling drugs, just had such an addictive personality. Like, the addictive personality I have is insane. Like, basically anything I can do, I can get addicted to. So I just have to really be careful and use that addictive personality for positive things.
When did you, looking back now, when did you start to go down the wrong path? Like, what was the beginning of that journey?
The beginning, I mean, there was signs of it, man. I got kicked off Team Colorado in wrestling. I got expelled from school. And, probably the huge thing was when I got in trouble in Denver for a few thousand pills of ecstasy and posted bail and fled the country. I mean, that was kind of the really turning point in my life.
When you left the country, that's one thing that I didn't understand when reading about your story. How were you able to leave the country while you had these issues going on? Like, this did not come up when you were crossing customs?
I was 19 years old. I got caught with a few thousand pills. They let me out on bail, and I basically got a passport issued to me within 2 weeks. I paid the speedy delivery, and I hopped on a Greyhound to Indiana, say goodbye to my family, then New York, and just hopped on a plane. They don't really check you very good when you leave the country. You just show your passport, show your ticket, they let you through security. It's when you come back, that's when they get you.
Why did you come back?
Well, I got in trouble in Spain. So I did a 2 year, 4 months prison sentence over in Spain. And I was extradited back to New York, to my home country. So that I was basically forced to come back. And I was hoping there would be a statute of limitations, but obviously there wasn't. So 5 years later, when I returned, they scanned my passport. It popped up red flags. They pulled me in the back.
Wow. And while you were in Spain, were you also homeless for a little bit of time?
Yeah, when I moved to Spain, I started working at a club, working as a PR. I'd get €1 per person I'd bring into these clubs, but they would also give me 8 drinks when I work and 4 drinks when I get off. And so I basically, 2 months of that with my addictive personality, I was a full-blown alcoholic, couldn't even afford €30 a week to pay my rent just to sleep in a bed in a crowded house of people. And, I had to sleep on the beach for a little bit, and cold nights, had to dig a hole, stay out of the wind. And that's when I met an American who basically took me in like family, and to this day he still is.
And what's his name?
Alexander.
Okay. And is that so? What, you met him in Spain?
Yeah. So his dad's Cuban, and he's from Miami, born in Miami. So he's American, and we kind of got to know each other, and he kind of saw my situation and just said, "Hey, man, you got a lot of potential. Me and my dad, we don't want to see you live like this. Come live with us and get sober." And, 2-3 months into it, I got sober. We were training a lot. And that's when his dad proposed to me, "Hey, man, let's go make some serious money, and let's go to Colombia."
Yeah. And he was the one who suggested about like ingesting drugs, right?
Correct.
In order to deal the drugs, not to actually take them yourself, right?
We were basically doing both. I was like I said, with my addictive personality and those kind of drugs around me, I'm doing them. Sometimes I'm not, but yeah, when we were trafficking drugs to make big profits, and obviously partying a lot along the way.
How much did you like? What's the most that you consumed for the trafficking internally?
I would get around 600 grams to a kilo.
And then how would you get it out?
You just go to the bathroom.
Out the mouth or the other way?
No, the other way. It can't come back out where it came. Yeah, we used to joke. It's like hitting the jackpot on a slot machine.
Oh,
like
man.
that.
And then you have to take it out? It's like wrapped up.
Yeah, it's wrapped up. There's like 7 layers, and you cut a few layers off, and it's not. It's not a pretty process. It's
Jeez,
not something I'm proud of for sure.
And that's a common thing.
Yeah, a lot of people do it. A lot of people put it in their suitcases. They think of so many ways, but
Suitcase?
It's the safest one. Yeah, put it in the bottom of your suitcase, or I've seen girls put it in their, they put a weave in their hair. If there's a way to make money, people will think of it.
And when it's coming through your system, doesn't that hurt?
No, not really. I know it would kind of give me a stomach ache eating it and then swallowing it, but then once we were done, we would drink some whiskey, shots of whiskey, and then you're just basically a drunk American tourist in the airport.
Right. Okay. And then and you got caught with that, right? Via X-ray.
Yeah, eventually we were passing the X-ray, and eventually they took us in the questioning room in the Canary Islands, which is an old airport where they don't have an X-ray on hand. So we were taken to the hospital, and that X-ray is a lot stronger than the one they use at the airport, and that's where they caught us.
And that's when they sent you back to America.
Correct. No, that's when I did 2 years and 4 months in prison over there.
Oh.
And then I was sent back. I received a 3.5-year prison sentence.
Okay.
For that.
And you also spent time at Rikers Island here in New York.
Yeah, so when I was extradited back to the States, I landed in New York, and obviously I still had the warrants in Denver, and they held me at Rikers for a few months before extraditing me back to the States.
What was Rikers like?
I mean, that was the worst part of it all, man. It was a battle for survival on the daily.
Unlike anything you've ever experienced, hell on earth.
Basically, yeah.
How long were you there for?
I don't remember if it was 2 months or 2.5 months, somewhere around there.
Were you with other inmates, or were you by yourself?
No, I was in maximum security with the worst of the worst in there because I was a fugitive.
Because I mean, you didn't murder anyone, so why would you be with the worst of the worst?
Because when you're a fugitive, you're considered high risk because I've already fled the country. So they think in their mind I might be trying to escape or whatever, and so they put you in the most secure area of the prison.
Were you ever afraid for your life there?
Oh yeah, many times.
Did it ever get close? Like, did anyone ever try to attack you?
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely some confrontations, and I was told that I basically, had people after me. And literally before the doors opened that day, the U.S. Marshal came in about an hour or two early. I was up all night praying and just thinking of weapon tactics and whatever. And, the guards came in and they pulled me out as U.S. Marshal, and they extradited me back to Colorado.
Why were people after you?
Just some in-jail drama. Just I wasn't letting people use my calls that I have on the prison phone, and just got into a confrontation with someone, and they obviously were with a gang.
And they said that you're going to die as a result of this.
Yeah, they just said I need to go to protective custody. I need to get out of there. I didn't have time to do that, and I was lucky enough. God had a plan to get me out of there in time. So.
Wow. And if that U.S. Marshal doesn't come and get you to bring you back to Colorado, you think you're dead?
I know it's not good.
Right.
It wasn't going to be good. Yeah. I don't know if I would have survived or not, but I had definitely some problems ahead of me. So I'm grateful that it did. I bailed out 2014 Valentine's Day, and, it's 4 years and a little bit later, and I'm in the UFC. I made my debut, and I beat a top 20 guy.
Wow. And are you sober?
Yes, 100%. When I got out, I've been alcohol-free for about 7 years, but when I got out, I was consuming like Adderall, and I tore my LCL and got hooked on painkillers for a little while. But, I got baptized a year ago, and I've been 100% sober, and, that's why I want to motivate people, and Windward Way Rehab has been a help, and I've been 100% sober, and I'm just, God has cured me of my addiction.
When did you realize that MMA was the path to now getting back on track? Like, how did you come to that conclusion?
When I was growing up, I always watched like Fedor and Rampage and Pride, and I just knew that like I belonged in there for some reason. And then obviously I started training a little bit of MMA, and then when I got locked up in prison, I really had time to focus and get my head clear from all the drugs and alcohol I was consuming. And they had a wrestling program that was called Lucha Canaria, and it's like best out of 3 in a gladiator pit, just takedowns. And it usually takes like a 3-month process to get in, but I went and ran to the coach and I showed him my cauliflower ear, and he let me walk on that day. And I basically dominated in that sport. They had a kickboxing program. I was training weightlifting. It was basically a training camp for me. I learned Spanish. I found a relationship with God. It was one of the best things that's ever happened to me.
Wow. What was Saturday night like when you got back to the locker room after you just won your UFC debut, considering everything you've had to overcome?
It was amazing. It was, I really had to dig deep in that fight, and I was, Cezar. I mean, he took. I mean, I thought that arm bar popped his arm, and I'm not sure if I fractured his arm or broke it. He continued to fight. I dropped him in the second. I was close to finishing him there, and that third round, I just knew, because I knew he was taking me down a lot, so I just dug deep. I mean, I had to go in places in my mind I haven't been in a while, and so after the fight, I was just so out of it and so happy and just relieved that I got the job done.
However, I understand you had food poisoning after?
Yeah, so I mean, the fights ended at 3 a.m. in Argentina, or the time over there, and we stayed up all night hanging out, and we were in the hotel lobby, and then the breakfast opened at 7 a.m. We stayed up, and we're going to have breakfast and go to sleep. And I just ate like an omelet and stuff, and one of my coaches was puking. But, yeah, I was literally on the floor dying for like an hour or so. Yeah, and I was like, I changed my flight to come home early. And, I'm a little sore and stuff, so I just was ready to come home.
Yeah. Man, you can't even enjoy it. Like, I'm sure you're enjoying it and everything, but I feel like you can't catch a break here, like the gods need to let you enjoy this moment,
I know.
illness-free.
Yeah. No, I for sure will. I'm going to take care of some things. I'm going to have Thanksgiving with my mom and some family, and then I'm probably going to book probably a half week in Cozumel or somewhere, and just go on the beach, turn my phone off, and not have to drive anywhere, and just be on a resort and just really get to enjoy my victory.
What has it been like? And I know you've talked a little bit, you've done interviews in the past, but I feel like this week in particular, or last week I should say, and in particular with that Players Tribune piece, a lot more people know of your story, and you were very open. It's a must-read. Again, I would highly recommend anyone read it. What has it been like now sharing this with the world, and I'm sure having a lot of people reach out to you about some stuff that you've been through that, I mean, I'm sure at one time you probably didn't know if anyone would know about this story. What's this been like for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's been such an amazing to be an inspiration for so many people, and and that's what this is all about to me. I mean, I was put in that situation, and I survived so many close calls that now I get to be in the UFC and have a platform to inspire people that are at rock bottom or think they're too old, or their gender or their race or whatever's going on in their situation, but they can bounce back, and God has a plan for them, and they can live that plan out if they make the right choices. So I'm just so grateful and blessed to get to have this platform to be an inspiration for so many people.
You hear from any of those people that you were in jail with since coming out with this story?
Yeah, like all my close friends I've been in touch with a handful of guys that were my cellmates, and that people I came across during the journey in there that helped me out and just were good people in there. And we've been in touch, and they were all really proud to hear that story. And, the Players Tribune did such a good job of writing that, and it came out great. And so, yeah, they've all reached out to me, and just they're very excited and excited for what I'm doing in my career.
Some of them still in jail?
No, all of them are free.
Wow.
And so and I feel like by me doing what I'm doing, it gives them hope that they can accomplish their dreams, because in jail there's a very negative vibe of, oh, you're just going to, like, even when I would be telling people that, well, I'm going to be UFC champ one day, you guys watch, and they would just be like, yeah, sure, you'll probably be back in prison in a few years. That's because that's what they believe. That's what, most people do. But I'm breaking that stereotype, and I'm branching out and showing what you can do if you just get focused and let God work in your life.
When would you like to return?
I mean, I've been talking with my manager, Jim Walter, and my coach, Mark Montoya, and I heard David Branch is out there looking for an opponent sometime in January, and I mean, nothing against him, but I believe that to be the best, you got to fight the best, and he's one of the top guys there, and I think it would be a great fight. And so, I mean, if he's willing and ready, let's do that.
I'm happy, in conclusion, that you mentioned Mark Montoya, because I feel like in particular, Mark and the team at Factory X don't get a lot of attention, and I am probably to blame for that as well. We pay a lot of attention to some of the other big names, established names in the MMA coaching world, but I think Mark and everyone at Factory X have had a phenomenal year, and he's had a particularly great month. This past weekend in Argentina, last week in Denver, you, Anthony Smith, Macy Barber, I believe Devontae Smith, right, is also a part of the team.
Yes.
Yeah, you guys have had a great run. So I'm very happy for you guys, and I'm happy that it seems like a lot of people are giving not only the fighters in particular, but the coaching staff as well the credit that they deserve.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. My coaching staff at Factory X and at Landau Performance for my strength conditioning, they are just amazing, and we're all just such a tight group of family. And, yeah, Ariel, you're going to have to get down to Factory X and interview more guys, because we got a lot more coming. We got Chris Gutierrez is making his UFC debut on the 29th in Vegas on the Tough Finale card, and we got a lot more guys coming. Like, we've been building guys for years, and I've been there for 4 years, and just now we're watching everyone break into the UFC. We're all getting at that level, and Mark Montoya is putting so much time into all of us, and just so passionate, and he lives and breathes the sport of MMA. And the hard work is shown and it's paying off, and I'm excited for the future of my gym and for me.
Congratulations, Ian, not only on winning your UFC debut, but for overcoming all of this and overcoming hell at Rikers Island and Spain and everything, man. A lot of people would probably crumbled after all of that. I know I would have a long time ago. So it's really impressive to see what you've overcome, and now trying to be a positive influence and a good role model and telling your story. Kudos to you, my man. Enjoy the victory. I hope you start to feel better and are able to enjoy it. And I'm looking forward to now watching your career in the UFC.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for having me on. And yeah, I just believe all the stuff I've been through. People are saying, are you going too fast? Are you fighting too high-ranked guys already? But, I've been through so much in my life, and I'm here, and I'm prepared to fight whoever, and I just want to keep climbing the ranks. And I took the slow track to get to the UFC, and I want to take the fast track to get to that belt. So thanks for having me on, man.
Absolutely. All the best to you. There he is, Ian Heinisch, stopping by, young, bright, new face in the UFC. And maybe you can question whether or not he is quote-unquote young, but a new face, if you will, who has been through a lot, who has overcome a lot, an absolutely inspirational story. And if you have not read his first-person account that he had on the Players Tribune last week, sort of exposing the fact that he didn't write it, but we all know that that's how it goes at the Players Tribune. I highly recommend you checking it out. Okay, we're out of time. I appreciate everyone who, on the other side of the wall and back in Bristol, who have stayed a little longer for us. Post-show coming up. There's a ton to discuss. Argentina, the rest of the card, Cynthia Calvillo. We'll talk a little maybe Cowboy McGregor stuff, Gaethje Pettis, Invicta this past week, Israel, Bellator event. What else? Floyd May. There's a lot going on. Golden Boy, the UFC back in China with Francis Ngannou and Curtis Blades, number 2, Alistair Overeem. But I just wanted to say some unfortunate news came out last night involving the UFC's Rachel Ostovich. We hope that she is doing well. You may have seen the report from TMZ. We've confirmed it at ESPN. She suffered a broken orbital bone in an attack of sorts. Not a lot of details right now, but we do hope that she is doing well. She is out of the hospital. Right now, her fight against Paige Van Zandt still, I guess, up in the air. We do not know for sure whether or not the fight on January 19th will proceed. That, of course, the least important detail of this story. We do hope that she gets well soon, and that whoever was responsible is apprehended and dealt with in the appropriate manner. All right, out of time. Jake, see, he listened. Last week went a little premature. Now wait for the signal. That's all. Wait for the signal. We don't want what happened last week to be recreated here. And that's exactly, see, you learn. You live and you learn. All right. Great day. Still kind of reeling from all my gifts. I mean, I don't know if I've ever been honored with gifts like this. I mean, my son got a rash guard. I got a book. I got a card. I mean, look at this thing. Thanks, Ariel. You're terrific. Best, AJ. I mean, he signed our banner. What a character. AJ Agazarm. Mushroom. I mean, I've never had this before. It has lion's mane in it. Who would have thought? I want to thank AJ for stopping by. Literally, the guy, when I reached out to him, was in LA and said, I'm coming to New York. I said, really? You're really actually going to come to New York? And he was here. You saw him. Unbelievable. I appreciate him stopping by, and I appreciate everyone who joined us today on the program as well. I also appreciate everyone who tuned in today. Thank you very much to all our guests. Thank you very much to everyone involved in the program. Congrats to Santiago Ponzinibbio. Thank you very much to Roy McDonald, Ian Heinisch, Ray Borg. All the best to him and his family. Mike Perry, Tito Ortiz, Chuck Liddell, and Judo Dan Kelly. If you're celebrating, happy Thanksgiving. Back next week. Same time, place, Tuesday. Peace. Somebody.